Hi Facebook, my name's Matthew and I'm on staff here at Spaceworks. We're at our visual art studios in Gowanus, where we have more than 30 studios and artists at work right now. This is the third in our series of Spaceworks Live features where we've been visiting different artists each week to give you a better sense of what's going on here and what's made at Spaceworks. Today we're going to be visiting Kate Fauvel, who is in her studio, and we're going to just see what she's working on. Kate's a native New Yorker, and we're going to check out her work. Kate?
Hey, Matthew.
How's it going?
It's good. How are you?
Doing
Come on
well.
in.
Yeah.
Welcome to my messy world.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Take a look around.
Yes, it's
I have a lot going on in here, in this little space.
Many images and
Yeah.
collage and yes.
Yeah, where do you want to start? What do you think, like...
Either way, do you want to go to something recent, something slightly older, or
Sure.
just give us a tour of what's on the walls?
How about we start a lot, like, and go
Sure.
along this way?
Sure.
So most of my work lately has been this archive of memories, talking about first starting off with home and talking about my grandparents growing up in Queens. I archived every single thing in their house before we sold it and created these large-scale collage installations that were immersing people into memory and into ideas of home. And from that spawned this next series that I'm currently working on, which is I call a love letter to my city. It's an archive of buildings and people and the construction and deconstruction of New York. So all of these are images I took, and then I play with scale and create these collages. So.
And I'm seeing these are from all over the city, right? In
Yeah.
Bedford Avenue, Harlem.
They're a combination. Yeah, some are from right across the street from the studios. Some are from Bed-Stuy. Some are from Chelsea. Some are from Harlem. Yeah, so they're really all over the place. And this one here is, I'm just starting, so I thought eventually I would let you guys watch what I, like, sort of my process.
Sure. We'd
So
love
this
to.
is like a fresh one I'm just starting today. And then we come to the side, and this is the series I'm starting about the current state of politics.
Right.
I've been photographing people at protests and marches around the city. This one's from the Women's March. And then you can see some of my sources. But basically the idea is the same. It's just like this, how do I tell stories? How do I talk about what it means to be human? How do I archive things that are normally untold, right?
Right.
So, yeah. And then in between you'll see these smaller pieces that I've been working on, which are portraits. Like these things are all objects from my grandparents' home. Mostly my grandmother's things. And there are portraits of these objects that I've photographed and then repainted and reassembled and collaged. Yeah, and they're just a part of the archive. My grandmother's oven mitts and things that usually we throw out after someone dies, but I felt like they had more of a story to live on. So.
Absolutely, and especially just even in this room in Gowanus, I feel like the connection and the relationship between home and individual family and larger city is.
Yeah, there's a lot. So I have archived the actual space, like piece by piece, and then I do these portraits of the individual objects. So I have these like larger pieces and smaller pieces that sort of shift back and forth between some of the same objects to sort of like highlight some and then tell a bigger story. If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's a bit full of things.
When is this piece from? When were you?
This is still in progress. So I just started it like a week or two ago.
Oh wow.
And it gets hand painted. So this is sort of like just the collage part.
Yeah.
And then I've started to hand paint things like along in here and here, and then eventually.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the color is all mine.
The color's all yours.
Yeah,
so all
yeah.
of your photography is in black and white first. Is that?
Yeah. I photograph in color and then print and enlarge in black and white. And then I go back in and repaint like all of these black and white things. yeah, so highlighting them a bit.
And you said this piece in front of us here, you were just starting
Yeah,
as I walked
so
in.
I was just starting this morning, or this afternoon, and these are all my source materials on the floor here. And I sort of just lay them out and then pull through. For the first time, actually by mistake, my printer made color photos.
Ah.
So I got a full set of black and white ones reprinted, but I have these colors, so we'll see if they shift into the idea. Some of them I like as photographs.
Right.
I think like my background is more painting, and so I really hold on to this idea of painting.
Right.
Although like photography is becoming a lot more important, especially I feel like in this time where we have things like Instagram and Facebook, and you can immediately like take a photo and share it and document like things beautifully, like with just your phone.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I mean, when did that? I feel like they probably happened together.
Yeah.
It's obviously painting and photography are still both part of your practice.
Yeah.
But when did that transition start, or your sort of affinity to photographs?
To photography?
Yeah.
I started to feel, I think, like painting wasn't enough at a certain point to tell the stories I wanted to tell. Because I've always been interested in telling people's stories, especially a lot of ones that would often not get told.
Right.
But I wasn't sure that the painting was the most accessible to people.
Right.
You know, that there was something about painting that like was hard to understand and created a separation between the viewer and and me. So I started photographing my grandparents' house after they died.
Right.
Mostly out of selfish reasons of memory loss that I didn't want to forget.
Right.
You know, like we had our house in Queens for like 60 years. Do you want to sit down?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm happy to. Yeah.
Yeah, we can. I can.
And this is all while you're talking about your. Is this the house here?
Yeah, those are. I have like multiple scales, so there's larger, and that's like a medium size painting. And the phone is from my grandparents' house too.
Where in Queens did they live?
It was in Whitestone, which is near Flushing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the photography really started then out of not wanting to forget, and then I had hundreds of photos of everything from like floor tiles to like light switches, and then I just started printing them.
Yeah.
And changing the scale, and then started working on these collages and seeing the photographs as more work. Like I didn't realize until after I had this whole series that they were portraits of like an archive of memories.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And then all these objects had stories. Like all these objects were things that we had to throw out, or like we just didn't need to keep. But how did I keep them alive?
Yeah. Did you have a studio at the time? I guess I'm curious, or like was it something that you were documenting, taking back into the studio, or
it was
sort of
on
making
my
time?
phone.
Okay.
I did have a studio at the time, but I had been spending a lot of time with my grandparents as they were ill. So I guess that's like the great thing about having a phone and something you can work on all the time. Is like it's with you. But I had been spending a lot of time in my grandparents' house, so that was becoming a really big part of my practice. Almost without even knowing, you know.
Right.
Yeah. But the series didn't start until I would say like almost a year and a half later. Like a year and a half after they died, these larger collages started happening when I was at Mass MoCA for residency. Yeah.
And sort of just looking back.
I printed them all out and I brought them with me, and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I think like because everything is so large, right? There's these like it's a huge museum with these huge like factory spaces that I just sort of when I'm developing these huge collage pieces from it, and like creating actual environments. Yeah, and I think a lot about how do I engage people and how do I let them into my world, to share emotions, to share like I was so loved by my grandparents. How do I share that love with my viewer? Creating this warm space of home and creating these moments of interaction and engagement. Yeah.
I know you work in installation too. I was thinking, about the scale of these. everything. I mean, even this behind us, is the sort of tan paper that we're seeing? Is that the scale you're
That's the
imagining
size,
for this
yeah,
piece?
yeah. So it'll be
Yeah.
filled. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So it's I don't know if you can tell, like on my, it's like 84 inches high by like almost 10 feet wide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that will be filled with like all these collage pieces.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, I work on them sometimes more than one at a time. As you can see, there's sort of multiple things going on in here.
Right.
You know, but the thoughts are all connected about, about understanding what it means to be human. That's essentially the bigger thought. Yeah.
And you had just put these few
Yeah, they're still wet.
scraps up
They're still
when
like
we're-
hanging up.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
As I walked in, I mean, do you have, as you said, you have a huge space to fill. Do you know what it'll be filled with, or is it a process of sorting through these and seeing what strikes your
Yeah.
fancy? Or
Yeah, it's sort of a lot of the work becomes really physical. I think there's a combination of of knowing what I have and playing with the scale, and then something also happens once more pieces are on, where I can then like manipulate the space more and move through it.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of like, I have the sources, like I know, and I might print out more because I've been just like taking more and more photos all the time now. I can't keep up with like the printing, but yeah. So it's it's a combination of like, I don't have a vision for the end, but I have I guess I have an intention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I'll go back and forth between like filling in some color here and working on this one, and this one will probably come down, and I'll work on more in that series as well. Yeah. Should I do a little work?
Sure, absolutely.
Or how
We
much
can-
time do I have with you guys?
We can, we can chat as you work. Anything
Yeah,
like
great.
that. Yeah,
We
I
can-
think we'll
is
be
that
live for
cool?
another 10 minutes or so.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice, awesome. Yeah,
So absolutely.
yeah, I can talk and work at the same time. It actually helps me. I find like I do my best work when my brain is occupied with
Right.
something else.
Right.
And I can just physically like create things. So
Yeah, with the prior visits too. I mean, we're really just. I feel like there's a continued dialogue about labor and practice and how we sort of stay engaged in this political climate and this moment in our world. Mary and I spoke a little bit about her recent teaching artist practice and really learning to think about teaching and how that's a different kind of thing, to feel like she's passing on something. And Rachel was really speaking about the sort of the labor of it, and like listening to podcasts, listening to the radio, taking in the news, but only when she has something in her hands.
Yeah, I think there's a combination. We're at this like current state of politics, of living that like there's no separation between these decisions that are being made every day by our government that take away rights of all of us, right? So we can't. There's no separation. Where before, I could separate, like politics and from my work, and now it doesn't feel so much like I'm not naturally like a politically based artist. Like I have the utmost respect for people who that's like part of their practice. Like,
Right.
But at this point, like we can't separate the two, especially when I feel it's my job to understand like this life, right? And like when like today today it's healthcare that we might lose, right? So I can't ignore that our rights are being taken away, and I think about how there's always these like things have always existed, and now they're just being brought to the forefront, right? So like we're dealing with issues of race. We're dealing with issues of like anti-Muslim things, just like a million, like there's
Right.
like women's rights,
Right.
like gay rights, like every right is being threatened. So,
Right.
and maybe they always have been, or there've always been people filled with hatred, but now it's like the leaders of our country represent these terrible things. So, so it's in the thoughts. I mean, even in documenting the city, it's also like there's pain here, right?
Right.
Like there's I just noticed the like hard work, like the the construction, the dirt, the like garbage, but yet the beauty, you know, and like the combination of all those things is somehow like connected to the bigger picture. But
Right. Yeah, I just
I don't
found
know if that
myself.
made sense. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I've been trying to like I've been listening to like NPR 24/7 every day,
Okay.
and like it not interferes, but it's hard to focus on work like when there's constant news streams. So I'm trying to find a balance, which I think a lot of people are.
Right.
But then maybe we don't need a balance because we need to be resisting and focus on protecting each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how to find that flow between practice and care for self and community. And
Yeah.
I, as you were speaking, found myself attracted to this dumpster and everything you were talking about like these police barricades and
Yeah.
the relationship between those very physical objects and then the sort of expression.
I mean, it's all connected, right? Like, I'd like to think that we all, like, want the same things, right? Like, love and to be loved and to have food and shelter and, like, how do we help each other have those things? And, I made postcards. Should I show you some?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
And so if anyone needs them,
We can totally be a conduit for that.
I can
yeah,
share.
Anyone...
I sell them with proceeds going to ACLU or Planned Parenthood, but I'm happy to give them to people who need them.
Sure.
And there's a bunch of different images. That's like been the most direct thing I think I could do.
Yeah, these are wonderful visuals.
I create them on my phone, and then and then just been using them to contact representatives. Something really small, but I think really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're watching
And you
Kate's
want some
very
postcards.
generously- Yes, absolutely. We're
Let us
really
know.
exploring as a staff and with our artistic community just that question of
Yeah.
action and artistry and how they feed each other and
Yeah.
how we
And how do we use our privilege, right? Like,
Mhm.
because I feel as an artist, it's a great privilege to be an artist.
Right.
In so many ways, and
Right.
then at the same time, it's our job to like pave the way. Like,
Yeah.
To be leaders in some sense. So finding the balance of that is really challenging in these times because we're not exactly activists, but
Right.
we can't stay silent. And,
Right.
You know, so it's it's really challenging.
Yeah, and I think I've been thinking a lot about just how we can radically imagine a city and then eventually ripples outwards towards a country and a world that
Yeah.
that does have space for artists to stay
Yeah.
and to be, but to do that in relationship to the communities that folks are enduring and exiting from, to have both permanence and respect.
Has in store to keep like maintaining and helping us and sort of like we kind of quietly fit into the neighborhoods, which I really like. You know, we're not trying to like change anything, just become a part of different areas. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Is it artist housing, if you don't mind I ask, that
Yes.
you're in? Or
Yeah. I'm very, very lucky. And also, maybe because I'm from here too, my parents were like, my dad was like, you have to sign up for this lottery. And I was like, yeah. And then like 6 years later, I got called for the
Sure.
So,
Sure.
yeah. And that in combination with Spaceworks, I feel like very, very grateful for. And then also I feel much more responsible to like do the best work I can